I interviewed and I didn't get the job first time. I was the second choice. He called me 2 weeks later. He said, "Hey, this guy didn't work out. We want to offer you the position." So I said, "I'm going to take it." The second choice is not always the bad idea. You never know what talent is. It could come from the second choice or third choice. Just keep an open mind.
Welcome to the Logistic Legends podcast, where we uncover the stories behind the leaders who keep the world moving. Today, I'm joined by someone whose journey truly represents the spirit of entrepreneurship in logistics. From humble beginnings to building and scaling multiple logistics businesses, today's guest has led transformations across global supply chains, e-commerce logistics, and international shipping. He is a co-president and managing partner of ePost Global, one of the leading US-based providers of direct-to-consumer international parcel delivery. Please welcome Fabrizio, Pep, Alvear. Pep, welcome to the
Oh,
show.
thank you. Thanks for having me, Kristy. Wow, that introduction was amazing. It really pumped me up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pep. So, Pep, let's start at the beginning. You are a first-generation American who built your career from the ground up. What was life like growing up, and what shaped your mindset early on?
Yeah, I think life growing up was pretty good. Like we were a big family. Definitely had a lot of love in our family, but humble beginnings. We didn't have much. My parents worked multiple jobs. They weren't able to go to my baseball games or things like that we do today. But it really showed me, it gave me a little bit of grit and told me, yeah, you know what, I got to do something here to get to the next generation to be better off than where I came from.
Wow, I love that, Pep. And for those who haven't read your stories yet, if you read his story, you'll be so empowered. So, was there a defining moment, Pep, when you realized that you wanted to build something bigger?
I think I was always competitive in life. I think through sports, I was very competitive. But when I met my first mentor, Phil, he kind of taught me, and I talk about it in the book, he kind of taught me of the business world and how to be successful, how to build businesses. And he let me see exactly what he was doing and he coached me through it. And I was just lucky to be part of that, right? To be part of a company that grew from zero to when they sold it, it was 40 million in revenue. So it was great. The ability to be there and watch it happen and watch the company grow was something that not most people get to be a part of, and it was something that I cherish. Yeah.
That's amazing, Pep. You know, one thing I want to reflect from your journey is not everyone, especially leaders, not all of them are humble enough to accept mentors. And I believe that's one of the amazing choices and decisions that you've made, especially for those who are younger generations who are listening here. Even Pep, he is so successful, but he told us that he had an early mentor. That's why the next question I was about to ask, you already answered it. One of them is, who influenced your work ethic the most?
I think my parents did because I saw them work multiple jobs, just to keep the lights on and the food on the table, and they did what they had to do with no option, right? You just do what you have to do. And then in life, also, Phil was a big mentor of mine on how to change my mindset to look at business a different way. My partner, my co-president Kelly, she's very organized. She taught me a lot. She was my boss when I was 22, 23, and later we became partners. And I had a lot of different mentors, right? Like I had a lunch today with my director of operations, and she was telling me how she's changing some things and listening to opinions from her employees. And that's what it's about. People who are going to succeed in this world of logistics, they have to have an open mind, right? They have to have an open mind and listen to from people from the floor who are doing the work day to day, to people who are CEOs, to people, from all walks of life. And I've seen a couple people fail, executives who thought they knew it all, right? And they came in and barked orders and it didn't work out. So continuous learning, I think, is very important, right? Keep an open mind, don't think you know it all, and learn from everybody.
Wow, I love that. That's whole speech is going to be repeated 20,000 times later in our channel. Okay, so Pep, many people don't plan to work in logistics. They somehow fall into it. How did you first enter the industry? You spent years with DHL. How did you first enter the industry?
Right out of high school, I was going to college part-time. I knew I needed to get a job. My mom told me, hey, if you're going to go out with your friends on a weekend, we're not going to be able to give you money. You're going to have to get a job. So I looked at the help wanted ads, found a couple of positions, and one of it was IPC, where I met my first mentor. And I interviewed, and I didn't get the job first time, right? So he picked a Seton Hall student over myself. I was going to a community college, and we laugh about it now, right? Because I think the Seton Hall student lasted maybe 2 weeks, and I was his second choice. I was his second choice.
Backup
He called me and
choice.
said, yeah, I was the second choice. He called me 2 weeks later. He said, hey, this guy didn't work out. He was partying a little bit too much at college and he wasn't making it in on time. And we want to offer you the position. So I said, I'm going to take it. Again, second choice is not always the bad idea, right? Like you never know where talent is. You never know what talent is. It could come from the second choice or third choice. Just keep an open mind.
Wow, I love that story. It's a bit dramatic, but it's funny. Guys, backup choice can be the good choice. All
Yeah.
right. So, Pep, you spent years with DHL. What were some of the most valuable lessons you learned during that time?
Processes and procedures. I think those were the important things that DHL had, and they showed me. They sent me to Germany to work at their hub, the IPZ, and it was all engineers. And they showed me a lot of how you have to do things, how you have to minimize the touches, how to scale a business. But then I also saw the parts of it that maybe didn't work with the American culture. Really, what I learned was the system is going to run itself. And exactly like the BMW or the Mercedes Benz, like they sell itself.
Yeah.
But what they didn't realize was in the United States, you have to have a relationship with the customer and it's not going to sell itself. You have to get face to face with the customer, see what their needs are, and maybe you need to do something different. Maybe the customer's not happy with that and there's an opportunity. And that's what I realized. And that's where my partner and I said, you know what? Why don't we start a niche company to compete against DHL? Right. So it gave me an
Wow.
opportunity.
That's amazing. Just a quick reflection there for your story, Pep. You remind me about Steve Jobs and all these very successful entrepreneurs in the world that they always say you don't have to know everything when you hire people who know everything, and not everything, but something that you can learn from each and every one of them. Your journey is definitely reflecting that you learn from the engineers, but you become smarter than all the engineers because you learn from all of them, and each individual only know what they know, which is really
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
was there a moment that really tested your leadership?
I think when I left DHL, it was a sad day for me. I actually cried saying goodbye to my employees, right? Like I was getting ready to start my own company. I was excited to do it. But when you're with somebody for 10 years or 7 years and you're a leader that cares, it's a hard thing, right? And once I walked out that door, I realized business is business because once I walked out that door, a lot of the leadership at that company was like, you're never allowed back in here.
Yeah.
So and then that's how life is, right? So I started my business, and with the mantra that I had was failure is not an option. I'm going to
Mhm.
start this business and I'm going to succeed, and whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Wow. Because you have a very caring and true heart for people there, and we are all humans, so it's normal to have that reaction with tears. And again, crying doesn't mean being weak, it's actually being strong, that you know what you're doing, but you know what's the right decision you have to make. So amazing. One more question for that. What did DHL teach you about operational excellence? You shared earlier about procedures and everything. Is there anything else you want to share?
Definitely time studies, touches, minimize touches, have set processes, have set procedures, ensure the processes are being followed, right? But the one thing that probably they lacked was the interpersonal communication, right? Because when you come in with stopwatches into a facility in the United States and you're on top of somebody that's making minimum wage and it doesn't look right, right? And you really have to be careful on how you approach that, is what I learned. I learned that, yeah, we have to figure out how many pieces per hour these workers are doing, but standing there with the stopwatch is probably not the best way to do it, right? It's not like you're paying a top tier rate, right? You're paying a minimum wage. They could go to another company. So I saw a lot of people like felt turned off by it and maybe left to other companies. And I learned that, you know what, you have to talk to people and explain to them what you're going to be doing and why you're doing it. And I was shocked when they just came in with engineers and they went out there and I said, wait, stop. You can't just do this. We have to have a plan.
Wow. That's fascinating. Your stories can literally go for a movie. I'm sure many people would want to discover all the details, what's going on. Well, now the next question I have for you, it's your entrepreneurship. So in 2012, you co-founded Express Postal Options International, which eventually grew into a 60 million enterprise. That's a huge achievement, but starting a business is never easy. What was the toughest moment in those early years?
The toughest moment was we went through a lawsuit with DHL because we left DHL. We took some of their customers. We offered a niche product to customers where we would do things outside the box for them because we knew there was a market for that, right? There's a market for niche processes to do things that customers want, a little bit different, a little bit quicker, a little bit outside the box. So I teamed up with four partners, right? And we really brainstormed like, what value could we bring to this industry to grow the business? And we targeted that, right? So we had some good brands that came on board. We grew the company together. We had great communication. I think that's important, right? Everybody to be on the same page, paddling in the same direction. And we quickly grew the company, but it was tough because we went through a lawsuit and we were just barely paying our bills the first bunch of years. But I think the reputation that we had and we have today is incredible because a lot of our vendors gave us credit
Mm.
that they wouldn't give a new company, right?
Yeah,
And a lot of those vendors I still have relationships with today,
yeah.
30 years later, and I take care of them because they watched out for us when we were nobody.
Wow, I love that. Well, it's very hard, especially when you just started a business. You were much smaller than the big giant guys. And sometimes competitions, it's another topic we can share another day. But honestly, the clients have their freedom to choose as long as you're not really like doing something harmful for any companies. I think it's really hard to say put knife on their neck and say you can't use others because if they are afraid and they're not like silly, they know what they're doing. I think rather than to attack those who are approaching a client, you should say, how can I keep my client by using my superpower so that they will be loyal to me? That's just my personal opinion on this channel. All right. Was there a point where you thought this might not work, like a doubt?
I think we were all in. We were all invested. I mean, life savings, we were in it, blood, sweat, and tears. And to be honest with you, for me, there was never a moment that I said, could we possibly fail? Because again, the mindset was at that point, like failure is not an option. You've put everything you've had into this and you have to win, you know, you have to succeed, for your livelihood, for your family's livelihood. And I think it's always a good mindset to have, right? If you train yourself to say that I'm going to do everything I can to succeed and not doubt yourself, I think that's half of the battle of being successful.
I think that's 90% or 99% of the battle.
Yeah.
Because by listening to you just now, you pump me up so much. Like there's no way for me to doubt anything about my life right now by listening to you just now, Pep. That was really awesome.
Thanks.
Next question about selling the business. So then came to a major milestone, the sale to RR Donnelley. Selling a company is emotional for founders. What did that experience teach you about building value in a business?
It was a turning point for us, right? Because we were scaling a business and we came to a point where either we had to invest millions and millions of dollars into an IT infrastructure to become a parcel processing company, because we started off as a mail company only, becoming a parcel company. We had already invested in parcel technology, but we're like, wow, we just had the best year of our life. Do we take some chips off the table now, or do we go all in for another 5 years? Right. And at that time, we just had unsolicited options. RR Donnelley, who was our customer, came to us and said, look, we want to buy you. And we said, okay, wasn't thinking of selling, but what's the offer? And after, 6 months of thinking about it, we said, let's do it. Let's do it. And it was the right move. And it was part of our growth too, because they invested a lot of money in us. They invested in infrastructure and technology. We took chips off the table and then we started scaling the business with the investment money, with the money they gave us. And Kelly and I ran that for another 6 or 7 years successfully. We grew it from with the same team, the same partners that we had before, that who are now were on the sales team. We grew that business from $60 million to about $150 million in business. So almost 3 times the size
Wow.
in 7 years.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, guys, whoever's listening, if you're investors or whoever wants to buy companies, I know you would definitely not stop looking at Pap and following him around because every business he touches with Kelly and all these guys are just growing and growing. That's amazing. So, what did you learn about mergers and acquisitions?
We were very green when we sold the company to RR Donnelley, right? We had an outside accounting firm. We didn't know anything about Q of E's. We didn't know anything about the finance side of the business. So we left a lot of money on the table, I think, but we learned. We learned our lesson. We understood what happened. And we wouldn't have known that until we talk about the second deal where we bought it back from RR Donnelley. But
But
then
you,
we learned more, right? So it's continually learning, right? I didn't know anything about closing books every month. Like that's what a publicly traded company does. So we started closing the books every month. Donnelly taught us how to read the whole P&L of our business. They looked at every aspect of the business. It's like going to college and learning finance, right? Like you're learning from great people at Donnelly who've been doing this for 20 years. How do you read your P&L? Some people are like, you don't know? No, we were just running a successful company and we knew we were making good money, but we didn't run it like a big company. We ran it like a small company. So it was great to see that side of the business after we sell it and say, wow, if we would have known this, we would have made a lot more money, right? So continuous learning, continuous improvement, open mind. And I've made some great friends at Donnelly who taught me a lot as well. Some VPs, some presidents who, taught us a whole lot of how to grow a business.
wow. I wish we can stay for another 2 hours, but I need to be mindful about time. So the next question I have for you, Pat, is now this is a fascinating part of your story. In 2020, you helped lead the strategic buyback and co-founded ePost Global. That's a real move in business. What inspired you to make that decision?
Again, it wasn't planned, right? During COVID, our Donnelly reached out to us and said, hey, we're selling all of the logistics business. And all of the logistics business was about $2 billion. And we were at the time about 150 million of that. And they said, this is what's happening. We're going to pay down our debt. And they started shopping it. And we started doing presentations to a lot of private equity companies. And then one day, Kelly and I said, you know what? If we're going to do this again, we're going to do it for ourselves again. So we had a good enough relationship with the people at Donnelly to say, hey, we'll come up with investors, we'll buy it back. And they said, look, you guys have been great leaders. You've done everything you said you were going to do. You've been honest with us. You have high integrity. We'll make it work. And I think that's a lesson learned too, because just because you sell a company to a big company doesn't mean you change the way you run business or the way you treat people, right? Some people might have said, hey, I got a big payout and I'm going to take it easy. But Kelly and I, we have a different work ethic, right? And our not just us two, but a lot of people that we have on our team, right? From our salespeople to our leaders, we're constantly moving forward and getting stronger and becoming better and learning. And Donnelly appreciated that you know what, we were still grinding, we were still working hard, and we never gave up. And we were hitting our numbers, and they said, look, you guys have been good to us. We'll give you a good deal for it. So we ended up buying back the company through some investors.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And like you said, because your reputation and because your leadership and you're honest and all of these things that they have witnessed from previous experiences, and that makes also your life easier because instead of you have to sell or present yourself, they want to give you a better price because they trust you. That is amazing to learn. One thing during that time, so what was the biggest challenge during that transition?
Is the rebranding, right? Because you're going from R. Donnelley, International Mail and Parcel Service, to reinventing a company to ePost Global, which is the name that Kelly and I came up with. It's rebranding, making everybody feel comfortable on the team, ensuring everybody that, hey, this is the right move. We're going to do this. Stay with us. We have very loyal, not only employees, very loyal customers who came over. So I think they're seeing that, okay, we want to be part of this, right? And it's not just people, it's customers, it's vendors, it's a lot of people that have to buy into what you're doing. And as a strong leaders, you have to make sure that you get that buy-in, right? And you have to be genuine about it, right? And you can't be selfish about it. You have to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? Because it's the best. If we would have sold to another company, like if we would have sold to a competitor who had facilities where we had facilities, people would lose their jobs. And that was one of the options. And Kelly and I saw that and said, look, we could just walk away, or we could try to build something here to keep everybody together and keep everybody whole. And that was important to us, right? Is to do it on our terms so our employees have a place to land, our customers have a place to land, and not be part of something else where people are going to lose their jobs.
Wow. See, every topic I'm just so keen listening to it. It's just a lot of things I can learn from there. And also everything landed on a great visionary, a great leadership as well, what you do. Okay, let's just work a little bit further about building ePost Global today. So today, ePost Global is one of the largest US-based providers of direct-to-consumer international parcel delivery. So for companies navigating global e-commerce, cross-border logistics can be extremely complex. What are the biggest trends you see shaping the future of international shipping?
The big word is tariffs right now, right? Things are changing, duties and taxes are changing. The EU's coming up with a three euro handling fee. There was tariff challenges in Canada. So I think the important thing is, if you want to be in logistics, you got to pivot quick, and you got to learn what's going on. You got to become an expert. You got to talk to people, and you got to be first to market with information. Information is key. So I think one thing that we're really good at ePost Global is being the experts, getting the information and getting it out to customers quickly, right? And giving them options, right? People don't want to hear about problems only, right? They want to be about what's the problem, what's the challenge, and how are we going to fix it, or how are we going to get past it? And it's something that we do really well. Maybe it's because we're a smaller company than $1 billion logistics company. We don't have a lot of red tape of figuring out what we're going to do, right? The buck ends with Kelly and I. We're a phone call away. I could get on a call with a customer and a sales rep in 5 minutes. There's quick decisions, right? Fast to market is what's winning today. You have to get fast, you have to be nimble, and you have to pivot quickly.
Wow. That's a lot to learn, Pep. And you're right, because see, you only take a minute or two to explain everything, but you covered a lot of details over there that everything that you mentioned will take you time to master, and you are the master of those things, which is amazing. Now, I still have a lot of questions. I need you to answer each question in a minute so that we can cover all the
Wow.
questions. It's a challenge.
Okay.
All right. Next one is, what mistakes do companies often make when expanding globally?
They try to do DDU instead of DDP. And when you do DDU, the recipient is going to be charged duties and taxes at the door. It's more of a postal delivery. And we offer those options for customers who want it, but it's not the best experience for the consumer who's getting that parcel, because they might get hit with a $5 or $6 or $10 charge at the door that they weren't expecting. So we try to tell our customers who are scaling, send a DDP. We have the options to send a DDP, and we'll make sure that when it gets to that door, nobody's going to get charged anything. It's going to be a clean delivery, and we're going to get a POD right away. So I think that's one of the biggest problems that we see.
Thank you. You did it in 1 minute. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that advice. So next question, how can logistics companies stay competitive in the next 5 years, according to your personal thought?
I think the importance is you have to be ready to scale, and you have to have a plan to scale. If you're going to be competitive, you have to have really good pricing. You have to have really good airline agreements, airline contracts. And with all that comes volume, right? So volume is the name of the game, right? If you have the volume, you could compete, right? So you have to find and come with a go-to-market plan on how are you going to get the volume. But there's a lot of people that get the volume at a loss. You can't do that. We've seen 3, 4 people in our space go bankrupt in the last 5 years. It just can't happen, right? You have to grow smart, ensure you're covering your cost, and be able to scale when you can and as quick as you can.
That is the best advice ever. And you're right, Pep. So next one, what
Well,
leadership principle do you live by?
don't sugarcoat things. Tell it how it is. Give the bad news with the good news, right? You don't always want to deliver the bad news, but you have to put it in a good way. One of my mentors or friends told me about the sandwich conversation, right? Give them the good news first, tell them how great they are, and tell them the good things they're doing. But then you have to have the hard conversation. Nobody wants to have the hard conversation, but it's necessary if you want to build a company and you want to keep good people, right? Because people don't want to be surprised. They don't want to find out, down the road that you're looking to get rid of them, right? Like that's not fair to anybody, right? You have to have the hard conversations and have the good conversations. But don't be afraid. Don't cower to the hard conversation. It has to happen.
Well, and the hard conversation are usually the best conversations and the most productive
Yeah.
one.
I'm not the best at the hard conversation, so I do get a lot of advice on how to get through these
Yeah.
hard
Your
conversations.
friend must be very wise. Anyway,
She
you've
is.
achieved significant success in business, but success is also about impact. What kind of legacy do you want to leave in the logistics industry and really in your life?
I think one of the proudest legacies I have is that, an average employee has been with us for 15 years, right? So you're building more than a company, you're building a culture and you're building a family-like culture, right? And you're affecting a lot of people's lives, right? So that's important because you want to come to work, right? I enjoy coming to work because I enjoy the people I work with, right? And to build that culture, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but we really push our leaders to continue to do it. I think it's important.
It's amazing. So, one thing, first of all, because for those who are not familiar, Pep has already written a book as well. It's called Logistic Legends, and his story was already featured on that book. Now, would you share with the audience what was your experience, like a short experience about your testimonial of participating in that journey?
I think it was very therapeutic for me, right? Because you don't really think about everything you've done or the people that have been part of your life that have helped you do it. So when you really lock in and start thinking about what you're going to write, you really start remembering the journey you've been through. And everybody has been through a journey, right? And it's an untold story. But I focus more on telling the story for my kids. I think that was more important. Like, yeah, it's great when somebody comes to me and says, "Oh my God, your chapter was amazing, man. It really moved me." But for me, I just wanted it out there. So when I'm not around again, around anymore, my kids could always read it and know that the legacy that I left and why I did some of the things what I did and why some people in my life were important.
Wow, that's beautiful. And how about your encouragement for those people who maybe in your inner circle or even for those who look up to you and they are also quite successful, they also have stories to share, but they are hesitating, they don't know they should do it or they're not feeling enough to do it. What's your encouragement?
Writing it is also growing, right? It helped me grow a little bit more, right? So for me, it wasn't just therapeutical, but it helped me grow because it helped me kind of reflect on the journey. And I would encourage people who are similar to me to say, look, if you want to kind of reflect on what you've built, look back a little bit and the people in your life that were important in your business kind of journey, it's something really good to do. It's funny because I'm in Chicago and somebody came up to me, forklift driver, and said, "Hey, that was really good. That was amazing. What I read, I didn't know that about you." And I was like, wow, like I didn't think like that this person that I see, every 3 months on the forklift, and I give him a high five and we talk football, that he took the time to read my journey. So it kind of gives a different perspective on somebody and kind of gets you a little bit closer to them.
You almost drive me tears. I love that kind of testimonial. It just makes me so happy. And that's how you feel everything you invest in there is worth it. Because even when we are gone, this thing will still last forever. People was gonna pick up your story and they're gonna get inspired. And you don't know them, but they get to know you, which is amazing. Now we need to finish this, but do you want to tell the audience where they can find you? What's your preferred contact channel?
I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. I'm always networking. I leave Friday as a good day for me to reach to get on Zoom calls with people I never met before, who I think may have a good synergy with me, and we get on and see if there's something we could do together. So I'm always trying to build my network. I've met a bunch of people this year at some conferences, so it's really important to me to continue to build a network. I'm looking forward to going to Bali to the Signature Network event and to continue growing my network into different regions of the world. I think that's important, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to.
Thank you, Pep. In saying that, we're going to grab you again there for a live interview because right now we're running out of time. But it's such an amazing interview I have with you today, Pep. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and insights today. Your story is a powerful reminder that logistics is not just about moving parcels. It's about building systems, opportunities, and connections across the world. And that's exactly what we celebrate here at the Logistic Legends podcast. Thank you so much, Pep. And thank you for those who are listening. We will have Pep very soon in our channel next time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.